Let's finish this up. Since we have, I guess, according to the thing, a free afternoon, my wife's coming to get me and take me, but I'll be back for your talk because I'm humble. No, I really appreciate this group. I really do, and my friends. And you know, if you can't laugh at yourself, then you better give it up real quick. You know.
Rule 62.
Rule 62 is one of my absolute favorites. My sponsor didn't say how self-absorbed I was, but what he did say is, I want you to write Rule 62 on your bathroom mirror so you see it every single morning. Right? Okay. Finishing this up, I guess we'll talk about working with others, which, now that I'm living this way of life, and I'm a believer that the only reason God kept me alive is to carry a message. I really and truly believe that to be true. That's my job, and that's what I was told by my sponsor is learn how to work the steps only for one reason, and that is so that you can share it with somebody you're taking through the work or you're talking to. Now, I'm a believer that the 12th step and sponsorship are two different things. Okay? I had I wasn't very fortunate to meet, what's his name? Clarence Snyder. Clarence Snyder is the guy that started the very first AA meeting in Cleveland, Ohio. He's the guy that during the Toronto International held a press conference and said he should be considered the co-founder of AA. He did. Right? He hated Bill Wilson's guts. He's the one that came out and made sure everybody knew that Bill Wilson liked ladies and things of that sort. And he was an asshole. I mean, I met him, and he was a jerk to me, at least. You know, but he wouldn't talk to anybody that had less than 5 years of sobriety. But he's the one that coined sponsorship. Sponsorship is not talked about in the big books. It says what? We must walk day by day, you know, with the newcomer and all of these things. But what is sponsorship? And the 12th step, carry the message to the alcoholic who still suffers. Well, I'm here to tell you that I think that sometimes you can be 30 years sober and suffer. So am I here to carry the message to the alcoholic who still suffers, which is the new person? And let me tell you something. Treatment centers have taken the stink of alcoholism out of AA. Okay, I remember in '75 when I got sober at York Street, an inner city club, you'd be sitting there holding hands for the Lord's Prayer, and you'd be sitting there next to a stinking drunk. You could smell the alcohol on them. They'd be sweating, they'd be shaking, right? And you had that example of a drunk sitting right next to you. We had a gal that came into AA down there, bad drunk, bad street, homeless gal. And she sobered up and somebody gave her a room to live in, but she got seizures. And it was amazing because she'd go into a seizure in a meeting, and back in the old days at York Street, they had tongue depressors on the walls, just taped to the walls. Because some people would go into seizures in the meetings. And this gal would go into seizures, and somebody'd get down and hold her head and put this thing in her mouth, and the meeting would just go on. I mean, it was insane, guys. People were sobering up in the clubs. They were sobering up in the meetings. They were, you know, we saw alcoholism right here, right now. Now treatment centers have taken that out. We get some newbie and now everybody goes, oh, take them to treatment. Bullshit. I hate to tell you this, but I think, I'm talking from Mike Shane now, right? I think treatment centers take about everybody for their money and then dump them into AA. For us to sort out, do you have a drinking problem? We don't know. We do not know. Right? There's a group in Lyman Colorado, 90 miles out. It's a farm area, and they have 2 meetings a week. And the AA meeting was so small, they invited the NA meeting to join them. So now they have these meetings twice a week, and they have 60, 70 people at each meeting, but it's a combination NA and AA kind of thing. But they need to find out, if you're sponsoring somebody, do I have the same disease as you have? Singleness of purpose. Alcoholics Anonymous was growing up on singleness of purpose. I have an answer if you're alcoholic. If you're a Gambler Anonymous, I don't know about that. I really don't. I'll help you if I can, but you cannot work a program based on rigorous honesty from a dishonest beginning, can you? So if you're going to call yourself alcoholic, be an alcoholic and find out if you're an alcoholic. If you're a drug addict, find out if you're a drug addict. If you're psychotic, find out. Seriously. We don't deal with mentally healthy people here. Right? I don't look down on people. There was a guy he was a Vietnam vet, came in, his name is Gil, and he had so much brain damage. I mean, when he talked, it was so evident, and he'd just go off the rails, right? And we got so many complaints about him because he was quite crude. But Gil asked a friend of mine to be his sponsor, and this guy sponsored him. Gil got better. People get better in this program, no matter where they start. I don't judge people like that. I had a girl walk up to me and go, well, I wish you'd kick Gil out of here. Why should I kick Gil out? Can I kick you out? You know, who am I to kick you out? Right? So, the 12th step, carry the message. What do we do today compared to back then? Back in the day, every time I'd go in and start complaining about myself, there were drunks sobering up in the club, and my sponsor would point me to these guys and say, go talk to them. Right? I remember we had a hospital in Denver, the inner city hospital is Denver Health, and they had a drunk center there. And every time I'd go in there and I had all these problems in my life, my sponsor would tell me to go down and pitch a drunk down at the Denver Health Drunk Center, right? And nothing got me out of my head faster than pitching somebody straight across. When I'm sitting across from you and you can't quit drinking and you're powerless over alcohol, oh my God, does that bring it back to me, right? Of how grateful I really am. So I go down there, I'm 2 years sober, and I go down there and I've got more problems than Carter's got pills, right? Can't make a living doing this, doing that, can't see my kid, I got, all these things. And I go down there and I said, is there anybody who wants to talk to a sober alcoholic? And the nurse said, yeah, and this guy comes out, and I'm talking to him, and he's scratching his butt, and he's watching the TV over my shoulder and everything. You can just tell. I don't know why he wanted to talk to me. He wasn't listening. But I pitched him. Man, I was pitching him like a son of a bitch. And I got up and left. 5 years later, I go to this meeting, and this guy walks up to me, and he goes, I've been looking for you, and I want to thank you. I said, for what? I don't recognize you. He said, do you remember when you were down at Denver Cares when they moved it for 2 months to do some construction on the old one? And I happened to remember it was that guy. But it wasn't him. He wasn't the guy talking to me. He said, I want to thank you because you came down, you were talking to this guy about your problems and alcoholism, and I was sitting in the corner. And I decided that if you could stay sober with everything you're going through, maybe I could. I came out of here, I got a sponsor, and I've been sober 5 years, and I want to thank you. I didn't even know who the guy was. See, so what I'm saying is that the 12th step can be carried unknowingly. It's about, am I available to carry the 12th step? That's what I'm doing here, guys. I'm not here for any recognition. I really don't give a shit no more. I really don't. But if I see your lights go on, it makes everything worth it to me. I get teary-eyed over this shit. We're dealing with a power here that can take some of the worst human beings on the face of the planet and turn them into the most useful, loving, helpful people imaginable. You know, my best friend when I got sober, he had done a whole lot of time. He was not a nice guy. You know, he was a very bad guy. As a matter of fact, he was so bad, this guy got out of Canyon City and he came to York Street. A lot of these people back in those days came to York Street. And my buddy, Dick, walks in and this guy jumps under the table. And I said, what's wrong? He said, is that Dick Daly? I said, yeah, that's Dick. He goes, he's the baddest son of a bitch in Canyon City. And Dick turned into one of the most loving human beings on the face of the planet when he passed away. That's what we're dealing with here. Sponsorship. Let's talk about that real quick. Sponsorship. Am I available to sponsor? I have found that I can sponsor because I want to help you, but I can also sponsor from ego. There are people that run around and go, I got 27 sponsees. Well, then you can't do a fucking good job, can you? I'm sorry. But that's an ego trip. See, my sponsor called a bunch of us guys in after I was sober about 5 years, and he goes, I've got to apologize to all of you guys. I've been sponsoring from ego because I can go out and tell people I got like 18 sponsees. And he says, I owe you all an amend. Am I sponsoring you because I really care about you? Because I got an answer for you. If you'll do what I say, you're going to get well. Isn't that amazing? I'm a useless drunk, but today I can save your life. You can save some alcoholic's life. You can save somebody's life today. And where we come from, that's not something that was on the top of my list of want-tos. Right? Why do we come to these things? To get excited. To hear something new. I just hope, that's really all I hope, is I hope that some of you get something from me talking up here. You know, that's all. My story is not about the bad stuff I did and the Hells Angels parties I went to and Vietnam and trauma and drunken fight. That's not my story, and you said it last night. My story is my recovery. And this is what you can go do if you're willing to do this thing and keep it fresh. And keep doing it. This resting on our laurels, folks, is not a joke. We see people go out all the time. A lot of people go out and don't come back and they don't get drunk, but I just know me. If I'm not around you, I don't know if I'll drink. I really don't. But I'm going to become... I can be a little touchy. I really can. I know that surprises you because I'm so humble, but I can get a little touchy, right? I need to be around this stuff. So, you know, the big book, and we're not going to read Working with Others because of time, but we do these workshops all the time. We do them over 3 days, so we really get into working with others. But if you read the book, Working with Others, it's going to tell you a few things. One of the things it's going to tell you is if somebody doesn't want it, leave. I'm not here to persuade you into Alcoholics Anonymous. The worst thing I can do to you is say you're an alcoholic. You have to find out if you're alcoholic. It's not my job to tell you and make a treatment plan for you. No way. I see this all the time. People come into Alcoholics Anonymous and I see some old-timers trying to sell them on their alcoholism. I do. Well, you wouldn't be here if you didn't have a problem. Bullshit! Alcohol Alcoholics Anonymous for $1 is the one place people will listen to your bullshit.
Write that down.
It's true. We get people in Alcoholics Anonymous all the time that go, well, I don't know if I'm really, but I sure love your meetings. And they can talk about their problems, and it doesn't cost me $250 an hour, and this and that and the other thing. We get a lot of non-alcoholics in Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, that's fine. I don't care, unless you work with me. Then we're going to find out if you're an alcoholic or not. Right? And you better know, if you ask me to sponsor you, if I'm an alcoholic. The last paragraph on page 18, if you're looking for a sponsor, tells you everything to look for. Okay? I'm going to read that real quick because I think it's so darn important. It says that the man who is making the approach has had the same problem. So, is this person who I'm looking to be my sponsor, him or her or whatever, and I do sponsor a few women who have been sober a long time, and I'll take them through the work, but I'll be honest with you, I don't like doing it too much. I have one in Akron who works at the archives who's been a dear friend, and it's been more of a friendship than a sponsorship. That he obviously knows what he's talking about. I can't stand it when people say, I know AA works, but I sure don't know how it works. What is chapter 5? What was... I'm not kidding you, man. If you want to hide something from an alcoholic, put it in the first 164 pages of the book. His whole deportment shouts at the new prospect that he is a man with a real answer. Am I that man? Do I shout to you that I have an answer for your alcoholism problem? That's what I want to become, right? I love this part, that he has no holier-than-thou attitude. Nothing whatever except the sincere desire to be helpful. That there are no fees to pay, no axes to grind, no people to please. I love that. I don't have to please you. See, I love those sponsees that sit there and say to me, you know, Mike, I don't really like you, but I think you're good for me. I've had those. They're great. No people to please. I don't have to please you to be a member of AA. And AA is a place I need to feel safe. So politics are never talked about in front of me. Anybody that wears a political t-shirt on any side that walks into my home group, I tell them that's not allowed in my home group. And it's actually in our format now because it's gotten to be such a big deal, right? It's a safe place. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care if you're Catholic. I'm here to help you if you suffer from alcoholism. And we don't talk about that outside shit. I need a safe place to come to. Okay. No people to please, no lectures to be endured. These are the conditions we have found most effective. After such an approach, many take up their beds and walk again. Right? So, am I available to 12-step? Am I available to, and in this day and age, I have to be able to go to the hospitals maybe, or the jails, or I may have to go to the treatment centers to go to meetings. Or in Denver, there's a lot of meetings where there's no real long-time sobriety. The inmates run the meeting, right? And you can go and pick up sponsees in those places. You really can. My home group is a tough place to come in if you're 10 years sober to pick up sponsees, because you've got 4 guys with over 50 years, right? You got a ton of women between 35 and 45 years. So it's a tough place to get brand new people. But there are other groups that you can go to, and they welcome you. They really do, you know. I go to these meetings once in a while. It's the drama of the day meetings. There's no solution there. And I went to a meeting one time. I got to tell you, I spoke in Chicago at the Mustard Seed Club. And I went to a meeting with this guy at a different group, and there's this guy going, I'm 16 years sober, and my daughter told me today she didn't love me. It was like, get off your ass, you know? We're attention seekers. We get these people, they want all this attention, so they go to problem in the meeting days. I don't go to an AA meeting unless the book's talked about and a solution is talked about. I want the solution. I don't give a shit about the problem. I'll listen to your problem, and I hope you listen to mine. Okay? So anyway, that's about it from me. Is there any questions that anybody wants to bring up on the 12-step?
So you're saying, I just read something the other day that the sponsorship, originally when the founders were still around, was that the recovered alcoholic would sponsor or promise to pay the detox bill of the alcoholic who's going to the hospital to detox, that he would guarantee payment of the hospital bill if the alcoholic did not recover down the line and pay his own bill. And then, you know, later it says that the pamphlet came out from Clarence, and it kind of dived into, the sponsor dives into the book and gets into the life of the alcoholic. You know, and I've always wondered where the kind of not split, but in working with others, it really doesn't say, you read the book with the alcoholic. It says you give the book to the man in the interim of when you see him, because we don't carry people up the sobriety mountain. We lay the solution at their feet and say, this is what you do to recover. This is how I've recovered. And, I guess my question would be is, since people have recovered from the deviation of the book, I guess, there's no right specific, like, this is how you do it sponsorship.
Well, I don't think there is, as long as the solution is involved. I don't know about the paying for it, but I'll tell you, this Paul K. I met, who got sober in 1938, this is the greatest 12-step story I have ever heard in AA. Is back in those days, he says, when a person would call Alcoholics Anonymous, we would go out and hand them a big book with a $1 bill in it. Now, back in 1930-something, $1 would buy you a lot of booze. Or it would buy you dinner and maybe a room or something, right? And then they wouldn't come back till the next day to see if that person was serious. But he had this experience, and he was telling me about it, they'd go to this one guy's place, and he was so sick and frail, and he was going to die, and he couldn't get off booze. And so they took him to the hospital, and back then they wouldn't take him for alcoholism. So they took him outside, and they put him down in the street, and they ran over his leg with their car, and broke his kneecap, and put him in the hospital, and the guy sobered up. That's a 12-step call, guys. That's some serious 12-stepping. Yeah.
Okay, so being sober now, back around 10, sometimes I run into people who I used to know, and they say, "Hey, you look good." But I can tell that they're maybe still in their addiction or alcoholism. And then I say, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" But then it goes silent. I don't know how to handle the situation. One of them was like, you said you worked with skippers before, and you say, "I want to help you, but I'm too worried about myself at the time. I want to say something positive, but I don't know what to do." I say, "Hey, how are you? Good seeing you. You got 2 years clean," and then I take off.
So you were in the strip club and somebody asked you for help. Okay. You and I know each other. Here's something I've learned over the years. I never offer help unless somebody asks. Never. I never do. Yeah.
So you mentioned something in business and real estate. You'd be at a work meeting, and I don't care so much about my anonymity anymore, but I care about yours because I've seen a lot of service work come from when I'm out in the world doing my thing, and the conversation comes up. Yeah, I'm in sobriety, and you never know who you're going to be talking to. That it's either for them or a family member, or oh man, my brother struggles, and all of a sudden the conversation strikes up. So I'm just curious, in your own walk, how often does that happen to you?
I don't bring up other people's names if they don't know. I got sober at a time where being in AA is not cool.
Yeah.
Today it's cool.
Yeah.
Today's the place to be. I did a workshop here we go. I'm going to get in trouble. In Santa Barbara. It was at a monastery that overlooked Oprah's house, right? I got a point here. And I did this, and all bad things happen in AA start in Santa Barbara. So anyway, I was not well known. I mean, there were guys like Don Pritz and Bob Olson. These guys were well known. They were out there all the time. And I wasn't. I was asked to come in and do the workshop. And it was packed. It was full. Of course, my ego goes, shit, they're ready to hear me, right? And so at the end of the first night, I go up to this gal who invited me, who I knew, and she was a very nice gal. And I said, this place is packed. And I said, I'm not a name. I mean, why are they all here? And she points at this guy. She said, you see him? I said, yeah. She said, this is so-and-so. He's the head of Fox. That's what they were all doing there. All these movie people were trying to get close to him, to pitch him on something. See, AA is a cool place to be now. I mean, you go anywhere and you go, oh man, I'm in AA. Oh, good for you. Isn't that wonderful? When I got sober, they shunned you. They really did. We used to go up the back steps of York Street so nobody could see us. Seriously. It was not a cool place to be. So anyway, to answer your question, I'm sorry I go off so long, but to answer your question, I don't bring up other people's names unless they give me permission.
No, that wasn't my question. I meant just being of service outside of the Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think being of service and we grow through work and self-sacrifice for others. My job is to help anybody.
Right.
If I can help them. If I can fill an old lady's gas tank, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I will.
But they got to know you're in recovery to open that door.
Yeah. See, I'm at a place now where I don't care. Everybody knows I'm in recovery. Everybody I work with, everybody, and yeah, I make it pretty well known in my work place and different places. I've actually had work associates come to me for help with their drinking, and also in the biker community. Because in the biker community, you ride from bar to bar to bar kind of thing sometimes. And I had a guy finally, and he was a bad drunk. He actually was in a bad wreck drunk and had his leg chopped off and the whole thing, but still rode. And he came to me one day, he goes, Mike, you drink Coke every time we're out at a bar. How do you do that? And then that opened it up, and he's sober to this day. Yeah.
With the advancement of technology like FaceTime and Instagram, Facebook, Zoom, what do you think about like long distance sponsoring?
I do a lot of it.
Does that work for you?
Yeah. I didn't for a long time.
Right.
I thought I needed to see your eyes. And I still think that's the most beneficial thing to do. But my sponsor at the time, Gary Brown, said, no, you need to open this up. And so with FaceTime and Zoom, I'm able to sponsor people. It works really well for me.
Or with the fifth step, you have them come see you, or do you do that?
Well, I got this doctor from Chicago. He's flying in to do a fifth step with me next week. But at the same time, I just fifth step with my gal from Akron, and we did it over FaceTime.
So the same spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wanted to touch on this anonymity question because what the tradition says is press, radio, and films. It should include social media. Because what we forget about anonymity is not to protect you, to protect AA. And you said it yesterday, when you start going, I'm an AA, I'm 25, blah, 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 you drink again, that gives 10,000 people to see, it doesn't work. And I've challenged people on the traditions online, and they go, but now people know I can help them. I'm like, how fucking full of yourself are you? Right? I mean, because forget, anonymity isn't all about you, it's about protect. I got sober, I got taken to Betty Ford's. I weighed 108 pounds. I was going to die in detox, right? Took me to Betty Ford. Daryl Strawberry had just been to Betty Ford. Couldn't stop talking about AA. Bought a house next door to Betty Ford. Everybody told him, shut up. And he drank again, he drank again, he drank again. He's the biggest advertisement for AA doesn't work. So I just think that's kind of skating along this question. Like, should people know? Press, radio, film, and Facebook.
Yeah, and you know, I remember when Robert Downey Jr. was talking about being an A and then he'd be drunk the next week. You know, and over and over and over and over again. You know, and now these people are coming out, and, well, I've been sober for so long and this and that. And no, if you're that full of yourself, just keep your mouth shut.
Not a good advertisement.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
How far along in the steps, or do you need to be finished with the steps before you can start sponsoring someone else?
That's a great question. I believe you can help other people. When I was new, I'd drive people to appointments and I'd talk to them and I'd share where I'm at. But I personally believe the message comes after I have finished the 12 steps. After I've gone through the work, I have a message to carry to you. Anyway, guys, you're going to go eat lunch. Thank you so much.